Every year, there seems to be a new trend in exercise, dieting, and weight loss. Go back a few years and the keto diet was all the rage. Today, intermittent fasting and reformer Pilates are popular. And we can't not mention Ozempic and all the buzz it's had over the last year. There always seems to be something new and shiny in the health and wellness space, so much so that it can be confusing to know where to start and what's the best course of action for your body. These decisions can also get more confusing as you age. What may have worked for you in your early 30s may not work anymore in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. One example where this applies is exercise.
Maybe we could get away with doing a couple hours of cardio here and there in our 20s or early 30s, lift weights once or twice a week, no big deal. But I find that especially women who are struggling with the weight gain of perimenopause and menopause, and even my male clients, they start doubling down, tripling down the things that they've been doing for the last couple decades, thinking that if they just do more of it, that they'll get a better result. But instead, we need to shift that idea from doing more to doing better, to being more focused and, God forbid, allowing our bodies to recover from those strenuous workouts.
That's Daniella Dayoub Forrest, a personal trainer and health coach based in Silicon Valley with more than 20 years of experience. Forrest initially got into health and wellness because she was really struggling with her own health in her 20s.
Before I became a personal trainer, I was working 70, 80-hour weeks, managing luxury retail brands, and I was miserable. I mean, I was just working nonstop and about to wear the golden handcuffs, so to speak. And I had a long walk with my mother, and she just helped me realize that this was not the path I needed to stay on. I still had time to make a switch.
During this process, Forrest learned she had developed osteoporosis from an earlier eating disorder. This meant that her bones were weaker than normal and much more prone to breaks. As a young woman still in her 20s, this was a big wake-up call that something needed to change.
It shifted my focus from just exercise being the main thing to, it really matters what we're eating, how we're caring for ourselves, how we're resting. And it just brought this thirst for knowledge. I went back and studied holistic nutrition, and that gave me some new tools. And then I started learning about gut health and hormones and how to be strategic with supplementation. All of these things have to come into play when we're working on healing ourselves from the inside out.
Today, she's much healthier and helps her clients understand what their bodies need. Building good physical and mental health starts with 3 basic pillars: sleep, diet, and exercise. Each are important but can look a little different based on a person's lifestyle, limitations, and age. Forrest explains that for some adults, this journey means reshaping what they view as good or bad.
I'm 47 myself. And I would say, I'm kind of on the lower end of the age spectrum of the people that I work with, but it's women and men from 40 to 65, sometimes 70 over. We were in a generation where we were taught to eat fat-free, right? I mean, it was indoctrinated into us that fat-free is critical to our health. Well, unfortunately, what we didn't realize then, and what a lot of people are still stuck in, is you're not getting enough of the vitamins and minerals and even amino acids that we need to thrive. So when it comes to diet, it's okay to have some eggs, it's okay to have your shrimp that has a little cholesterol in it. When I get them to kind of let go of the idea of fat-free milk and dairy and stuff like that, not only does food taste better, so much better, but they find that they have more energy from the food that they're eating.
Even though fat is often vilified, the human body needs some fat from food. Forrest says that fats provide energy and help to absorb certain vitamins and minerals. They're also necessary for cell growth, blood clotting, and muscle movement, among other things. But not all fats are created equal. Consuming trans fats over time increases a person's risk of developing heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and stroke. Many restaurants and fast food chains use trans fats to deep fry foods because it tastes better, and the oil can be used again and again. These fats are also found in many processed foods like frozen pizza, baked goods, salty snacks, and other items. Forrest recommends avoiding trans fats and sticking to monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. These good fats stem from vegetables, nuts, seeds, and fish.
I still find people in my age group and a little older avoiding things like avocados, olive oil, even butter. Butter was demonized for so long. And, unless you have a predisposition genetically to very, very high cholesterol levels, most people, and that's close to, 80 to 90% of people do just fine with these fats. But it's hard to sort of reteach people what they've learned and they've not believed in for so long.
As people age, it's common to develop deficiencies in nutrients like vitamin B12, calcium, iron, zinc, and vitamin D. Research has shown that over time, these deficiencies can lead to issues like osteoporosis, anemia, and neurological problems. And while it may be easy to pop a daily multivitamin to try and cover these gaps, Forrest says that these supplements may be less helpful than you think. It's more important to try and source out these nutrients from a nourishing diet.
It's really about optimizing every bite of food that you take in, because the reality is we're not as hungry in our 50s, 60s as we were in our 20s and 30s. So what little food you're taking in needs to be nourishing, not just calories. So when I see a client taking calcium by itself, we actually pull that out and then start working on getting a nourishing diet. And then if we want to fill in gaps, then we very strategically put in supplementation to enhance that effect.
Another key pillar Forrest focuses on with her older clients is building up their bodies through strength-focused exercise.
I think that people think that as we get older, we cannot put on muscle. That is not true. If you're eating well and you're focusing your exercises appropriately, you can put on plenty of muscle to keep your strength and resilience into your 80s and 90s if you'd like to. The problem is if we're doing what I call chronic cardio, right, which is just you're walking for 2 hours a day, or you're running every day, or getting on the bike for hours at a time. The problem with that is we're putting our bodies into more of a catabolic state, right, where we're breaking ourselves down. And that includes your muscle tissue, that includes your bone. So yes, some cardiovascular activity is important to our overall health, but the damage is in the dose. And when it takes the place of resistance training 2-3 times a week, then we don't see those positive effects as we age.
She recommends engaging in some form of resistance or strength training 2 to 3 times a week.
I'm not talking picking up 2-pound weights, right, that you could do 50 or 60 repetitions of, but especially for women, picking up something that's just heavy enough to challenge you so that you can do no more than 10 or 15 repetitions. In that range, you're going to start to see some results. And then also making sure that you're not forgetting to put that day of rest in between these really intense efforts so that you can see those fruits of your labor, so that you can see, your arms getting toner, your belly getting toner. If you're doing it same thing every day, you're not going to see the results.
In addition to weight training, Forrest also preaches working on balance as you age. Improving balance helps build stability and helps to prevent future injuries from falls. This can be as simple as balancing on one foot and then the other while you get ready each morning. Or it can be more intentional, like practicing yoga or Pilates a couple times a week. Forrest recognizes that these new habits, whether it's around diet, exercise, or sleep, are not always easy to implement, but do make a difference in the long run. Speak with your doctor and seek out personal recommendations for what your body may be lacking. To find out more about this topic and our guest, Daniella Dayoub Forrest, head to viewpointsradio.org for more links and resources. Also, check out Forrest's new book, Own Your Wellness, giving you the tools to break through your health plateaus, now available online and in select bookstores. For more behind the scenes and to support our show, search Viewpoints on Instagram, Facebook, and X. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Gary Price. Coming up on Viewpoints.
Perfectly clean homes, the mothers and the child are in matching outfits. It's just this kind of idea of everything being perfect.
Why what we see and consume can lead to a chronically unhappy life. Then,
it's a nightmare. I think 1/4 of tenants spend more than half their income on rent.
A deep dive into the housing crisis plaguing our country. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.